Hi. My name is Shannon McGrew. I'm the co-owner of Creepy Kingdom. I don't know if you know who this man is next to me. Legendary Crispín Glover. Thank you so much for being here today to talk with us.
Glad to be here.
So to start things off, congratulations on Mr. K and your other film, No, You're Wrong, which if you haven't...
Or Spooky Action at a Distance.
It's just so many words. So what's it been like juggling those two releases, especially, you know, you're acting in this, but you directed the other film?
Well, it was purposeful that the two have been aligned. Brian Andreotti at Music Box Films, they started their distribution company, I think it was in 2006 or 2007, and I first did my show and film, my first film, What Is It, at the Music Box in 2005. And Brian was really very helpful and together helped get press for my film in Chicago. And then I've been back at the Music Box multiple times. He came to TIFF when Mr. K premiered there. Had not picked it up yet, but we talked about it, and he wanted to know if I would help promote it. I said, well, I won't do exactly what I do for my own films,
Right.
with the live show and everything, but I'll help. And I started thinking, yeah, maybe we could align something, because I knew my film was getting close, and it worked out. In fact, actually, there was a little bit of, they actually didn't have their schedule together, and then I had my schedule together, and then they aligned this to my film, even though I was thinking the other way around. And there was a time when I thought, oh no, I've really pitted myself against myself. But it's worked out. It has been good to help have the promotion for both of them.
That's great.
Yeah.
And when, you know, with your performance in Mr. K, how do you switch off your directing brain? So when you come in, like, how do you immerse yourself fully in the role?
Well.
Or do you use your directing brain?
Well, I heard an interview with Jenna Rollins talking about her husband, John Cassavetes, who what they did together was just phenomenal. What they created as a husband and wife team, just some of the best acting on film. But I was quite aware of John Cassavetes using his salary as an actor to make his own films, and so that was a very direct model. It's not like my own films are like his films, but that was a direct model. I was aware of, so I'll listen to her. I mean, he died quite a bit before her, so there's some more recent interviews with her than him. But in one of the interviews, she was saying something to the effect of that she remembered a moment when she realized he'd become more of a director than an actor. And she said, and I really sort of felt bad about that, because he really was such a good actor. But I know exactly what she means, because there is, when you're acting, you're solving problems essentially internally. I mean, it's not 100% like that. There can be external aspects about acting as well, but the Stanislavski-based internal elements. So you're solving problems internally, and with directing, you know, it's, unless you're doing a 3D movie, it's a two-dimensional space that has a timeline. So you're solving problems externally in a certain way. I mean, a sensitive director understands things about performance and acting, but yeah, so I sometimes it's good if I can be try to not be aware and thinking about those things, but it does happen. I can't help it sometimes.
That seems
It's
natural.
probably better not to.
Yeah.
When acting, it's better to concentrate just on acting, ideally, but you can't help but notice things sometimes.
So I was like convinced before this movie that you were already a magician, and then I realized you weren't a magician, but for some reason I thought that you were, because it just like made sense.
Well, I played an illusionist in
The Wizard of War.
right, and
Yeah.
I had met with a magician, and he said some interesting things about the differences between illusionists and magicians, and he then introduced me to the lady who's the daughter of the people that started the Magic Castle.
Oh,
And then
really?
she made me a member of the Magic Castle. And I thought, oh, well, maybe this will be temporary, but I still can.
You're like a legitimate
Yeah.
member, but you don't do magic?
Well, I did have to learn magic.
Oh, you
in
were-
this one.
yes.
Yeah, but I'm very happy to go there. It's a great place. And then, in this one I worked with a different magician where I did have to learn specific sleight of hand. So if I go to the Magic Castle or watch magic, I don't really want to figure it out. I like
Yeah.
the illusion, but I did notice things. I've gone back a couple of times since that, and I noticed there's things that you're kind of taught to do that I don't want to know it, but I can see people doing just certain things. But it's interesting.
Do you like sleight of hand more than magic?
Well, they're often interchangeable.
They are, but
Yeah.
like if you were to, like I had turned to my husband, I was like, I want you to have a flower come out of nowhere to give to me. As opposed to like, I don't know, like another magic trick. That's not as cool.
But I had to do that. You would call that, I think you'd call that
Sleight of hand.
Yeah. There was a certain thing that you had to do. I mean, some of it didn't make sense. That's where I didn't, I said to Tallulah, of course, this doesn't make sense that this could happen because you have to have it ready.
Yeah.
So if you're walking around in a hotel.
Why would you randomly have?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but anyhow.
How was it working with-
That's the directorial thing
Behind the scenes, the director's cut. How was it working with Tallulah? I saw that this film, it took her 20 years to make this.
I don't know if that's true or not. She said that, she said she'd written it a long time ago. So I'm not quite certain. But my own film, I know, I almost wonder if she said that because my own film really did take
Really?
many. Well, yeah, I started developing Know You're Wrong or Spooky Action at a Distance in 2007.
Okay.
And now it's 2025, which is almost 20 years, which I'm not happy about. But in any case, I remember her saying something about that, but I think, well, it's a long story. Anyway.
How was it working with her and collaborating on this?
Well, we first met on a Zoom meeting.
Yep.
She had sent me I had gotten an offer, a screenplay, a PDF file that had the inspiration for the production design and things about the movie, and I could tell it was a solid screenplay and that it would have good production design, and we had more than an hour Zoom meeting, and we talked about a lot of different things. It took them a little while to get the money together, but I agreed to do it. I signed on to something when they were getting their money together, and then she had, I've been talking about a lot in the media that it's and she had it even in this kind of the PDF files. I knew Mr. K. It was supposed to have a Kafka inspiration, and I was very familiar with Kafka. When I was 15, 16, I'd read a lot of Kafka, and he was my favorite writer until I read Dostoevsky when I was in my 24 or something. Then he became my favorite writer. but I still love Kafka. But there is a very specific voice in my head when I'm reading Kafka. And the way the script was written, which I like about the script, is that it's interpretable. It was always evident that people would be able to interpret different things from it, which I like about that. I like that about the script. But it also meant that there were things about the character that were interpretable as well. And I had a very specific, like I say, there's a very specific voice in my head that's Kafka, which is almost documentary-like. There's a humor to Kafka, but it's not because things are broad or exaggerated.
It reminds me of like a Eraserhead, absurdity.
Well,
Brazil.
Well, that isn't, neither of those things are the voice in my head for Kafka. It's specific in that usually it's kind of an inhumanity to man, and it's torturous. It's not a happy thing. And there's one short story called "Give It Up." It's less than a page long, and there's usually a protagonist that you kind of empathize with, but the protagonist doesn't. You don't necessarily know what the protagonist. There's always a confusion of some kind, and then. But this protagonist is walking down the street and he asks somebody the time, and the man says to him, "Give it up. Give it up," said he, and turned away like someone who wanted to be alone with his laughter. That's the whole story. It's not a very long story, but it encapsulates this kind of feeling about that. There is something funny about it. Like, why is this guy turning away alone with his laughter? Is that guy insane, or is he thinking this guy's just worthless and he should give it up, and he's laughing to himself about what a worthless person this is who asked him the time? And you can't really tell what it is, but it's not played up. That's not what's funny about it. What's funny about it is how kind of awful it is.
Yeah.
So we were about 2 weeks into shooting, and there was a particular scene. She was not happy with how I was playing the scene, and she was saying, "You're playing this like Chekhov," and I said, "Well, what literary figure would you think it should be?" And she said, "Kafka." So now, for me, I would play Kafka similarly to how I would play Chekhov.
Okay.
But what became apparent was that what she was really influenced by, and I had seen the film years before, was the trial directed by Orson Welles, which I had somewhere, I think I was in France when I saw it. For some reason, I went to some cinema and saw that. And I love Orson Welles, whether it's his most well-reviewed or not. There's always something interesting going on with him. But that was one of the ones when I saw it. I liked the soundtrack. He used Adagio for most of it, which I have briefly in No You're Wrong or Spooky Action at Distance. But he had, and the cinematography is really good, but he had instructed Anthony Perkins is the lead in it, to be, I guess, I think Tallulah said she had instructed him to be afraid or guilty of everything. But it was comedically played in a way. And that voice, to me, when I saw the film, it didn't resonate with me as being Kafka-like. There was a different, Tallulah was thinking of Kafka via Orson Welles with, interpretation, which for me was an incorrect interpretation of Kafka.
Right.
So I was being more literally correct to Kafka in terms of playing it. I mean, it ended up working out okay.
I was like, did you have to find like a happy medium?
Well, there was a long, there was I would say 98% of the time, we agreed on things, but there were a couple of things, particularly something at the end. There was something I really wanted at the end, which isn't in the film, and it's in that flesh tube kind of set, and there was something that I needed to do. You have to trick yourself sometimes. There's an emotional element at the very end, which is in the film, but in order to get to that, I needed to do something which I'd worked on, and I really had to be locked into it, because it's a little bit difficult to describe, but you have to trick yourself into thinking things sometimes. And I couldn't, if I didn't do what I had planned on it, it wouldn't have worked toward the later part, which she liked and used, but she really hated what I did in the middle. It's not in the film. The thing is the film, the thing that I do like about the film is that it's open for interpretation. But what I did would have helped with an arc for the character, but it would have still left things open for interpretation. But she didn't like it, so it's okay. I like that the film is open for. That's the most important thing. So.
What was your interpretation of it when you first read it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's too different from what my interpretation of it is. I mean, and she told me specific things which she hasn't said out to the public,
right.
which is good. I don't think she should, and I don't think it'd be good for me to say it either. But I mean, I essentially got what it was, even with before the specific things she had said to me.
All right.
Yeah.
Well.
was there something I was?
No, I was just waiting for you.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna open this up for 1 or 2 questions, and they must remain on Mr. K, so no other questions. If anybody would like to ask one. Right there.
Why did you say yes to the film? And first of all, I'd say congratulations, you took us down a great journey, you're a huge, great actor. But what was the yes, why would you?
Why is it, it's okay if they ask something other than Mr. K, I don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to make sure. You can ask anything in the meaning of life.
Well, I had an offer, and I liked the screenplay. I could tell it would be a good production design. It wasn't too difficult to say yes. I'll usually accept things if the things I'll tend toward turning down. I shouldn't say the word crass, because what crass means to one person might be something different, but just my own definition in my head of something is crass, I'll tend toward turning it down. And this had some, it was evident that it had some motives of, like I say, I like that it was open for interpretation. That's a good thing.
Yes, right over there.
The first time you were reading the script, what were you thinking when you were passing pages? Like, what's going on?
Well, I mean, first off, I'll look at something to see if it's a plausible thing for me to do, if I would be right for it. And it seemed apparent that I would be right for it. Then I start thinking of interpretations, and my interpretations my initial interpretation for was actually a bit different than what's in it. It was not necessarily evident that the character was a self-doubting character. I did not think that when I read the script. That was something that Tallulah had instructed more. I actually was thinking of the character as being fairly self-confident. And I was thinking, that's also why the end thing was different, because I thought of it as a character that was being torn down, that was a confident character, whereas the way it is that it's a non-confident character that, I actually think of the ending as a positive ending. So there's an argument that a torn down character escalating into a positive ending is good. But I was thinking that there would be a fairly headstrong character that was then torn down and then kind of almost a death and resurrection, which was it wasn't a death, but there was something that got worse. That's the part that's not in the film, that she didn't like. And then it got better, essentially. But anyhow.
I forgot to ask you what it was like working with the dog.
The dog was only there briefly. That was quick. Dogs are. When I did Willard, I worked with rats and one dog and a cat, and of course rats, because they scurry for food, they can be trained so precisely.
Wild.
Yeah, and I had emotional scenes with the rats. Not once ever did they make any mistake, not a single one. They were perfect. They were perfectly trained. Dogs and cats, because they don't scurry for food, they just, do whatever people feed them. And so they're not well trained. So it takes longer to work with dogs and cats, but rats are.
We'll take one more. Oh, there's so many. Oh my God. All right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is more to do with literary inspiration for the films. There's so much amazing stuff going on, and so many different things that just come to mind that are deeply spiritual and philosophical. So you had mentioned Kafka, Dostoevsky, and I think Camus. But did Tallulah talk to you at all about any other particular stories? Like Alice in Wonderland really comes to mind, or like No Exits is a really big one, or it even has like Hubert Selby Jr. vibes with a lot of the kind of grotesque, weird stuff that's happening. Like, and it's, yeah.
I heard her talking about certain things, but I didn't talk with her greatly about the literary inspirations, but I'm sure she did have a lot of different ones, and would not be surprised if some of them were ones that you just mentioned. But I didn't write it, so I don't know exactly. But I've heard her say something to that effect, as I recall. But she and I didn't discuss that too much.
And we'll take one more question. All right in the front.
Okay, well, can I say a few things? So I think if you'd been nicer with the dog, you would have got out a lot faster.
Nicer?
But,
Well, yeah.
And so I went on Friday, and I was so excited to get one of your books, but then you might remember me, I was sitting at the front, asked you a question, and this is when I turned around, there was 425 people. By the time I got out, I was at the end of all those people, and I thought, I'll just get a book signing today, and I don't think you're doing that. So I was wondering if you happen to have a book with you.
I don't have my books, but my books are available on crispinglover.com.
Okay.
So they can always be ordered.
Well, no, you've taken to Magic Castle.
Say it
It's
again?
really hard to get into Magic Castle, so I was wondering if you'd take me.
We're not
That's my
doing
final
Gates
question.
to the Magic Castle right now.
Yeah, tomorrow I fly to Chicago and I will be back in LA.
Oh.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you,
this.
too.
Thank you for just being here, being with all of us.